What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we are here with Bryce and Devon of Silver Talon. Thank you both so much for being here. It's great to be able to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So, first thing is always first, we got the new album scheduled to come out May 28th, which is Decadence and Decay. Do you just want to talk about like how the experience was making this album? Was there kind of like a goal you had in mind or a preconceived idea? How did Decadence and Decay sort of see the light of day? Speaking of slam poetry, as we were talking about.
Yeah, man. So we started working on this shortly after we did kind of the full US tour in 2018 for the Becoming a Demon album. And just kind of started demoing things and it was really kind of a strange process because it sort of started off one way and then things kind of started to change over the period of like 2019. So we're demoing everything out and we started to have issues with our other guitar player Sebastian's visa stuff. He had to go do some touring in Europe with his other band, Unto Others / Idle Hands, and he was pretty much barred from entering the country after that. So we had a handful of shows booked, and we're kind of working on this album at the same time. So we invited Devon in on the process, and that's kind of where the three guitar thing was sort of born. From there, we sort of went through a couple different members as far as the rhythm section goes. So we got Walter, our bass player, and at the tail end of 2019, we got Michael. And I think that with the addition of, all three of these guys, it really it sort of cast the trajectory of what we had for the album in a completely new light. Because not only do we have, another third guitar player playing on the album, also Devon doing some incredible backup vocals on the whole thing. But we also have this rhythm section that is incredibly powerful. And that really kind of gave us the, testicular fortitude, I think, that comes across on this album. So yeah, I mean, in terms of kind of like how we started off, I think we just started off like, well, we did the EP, let's make an album. And then it sort of kind of just organically morphed into, the inception of Silver Talon as it is today.
Yeah. You want to elaborate on that too, Devin, since you're kind of like, in a way, like the new kid on the block, the third addition to the band. Like, it seemed like it was a happy accident. And it's funny you mentioned Sebastian because, him playing with Unto Others. I thought there was I saw that there was like sort of like a connection with that. So now that we have three guitar players in the band, did you kind of have to like adjust your guitar playing to what you heard on Becoming a Demon, or were you kind of allowed for this album to maybe bring a little bit of your own mix, being the new kid on board?
Well, so essentially what happened, he was out of the States and, Wyatt, our singer, asked me if I wanted to fill in for a couple of shows. And I was like, well, hell yeah, that was like my favorite release of 2018, And so, it was kind of, I would welcome the opportunity, and I already knew the songs from listening to them so much. So it was pretty much just learning them, which, that was a fun process, kind of frustrating, but, but then when it comes to recording time, after like, I don't know if I'm like, the goal really was to like make them want to keep me at that point, and it worked. So here I am, and then we did a couple of shows. Bryce was talking about recording. I'm like, well, okay. And it kind of just stuck. Sebastian got back. We did that video released, a couple weeks ago. And we've been hanging on to that since 2019.
Yep.
Yeah, sitting on that one for a while.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sebastian gets back into the States after that. We shot that in Victoria. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was a pretty natural evolution for my own playing, and then also for I I would think the band as a whole.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe the first two singles that you released, Deceiver I Am and As the World Burns, maybe serve as like a good representation of what the entirety of Decadence and Decay will sound like? Or is that just one little, two little pieces of the puzzle, if you'd like to say?
Uh, yes and no. I mean, I think that it is a good representation in the way that As the World Burns, kind of a bit of a slower burn, I would say. Whereas Deceiver I Am is a little more balls to the wall. So there really is kind of a balance between that, the total balls out kind of metal, and then sort of like pulling it back a little bit and trying to be a little bit more atmospheric and maybe a little bit more, even dare I say, progressive. Um, that going to the title of the album, Decadence and Decay, that was something that we kind of wanted to reflect with the music itself, where you have sort of these more balls out, almost like thrashy kind of songs that are a little more technical, the decadence part of it, if you will, and then pulling back and having kind of the slower, more atmospheric, almost, I don't want to say ballady, but more Queensryche sort of sounding stuff, and that's the decay parts of the album. So
Yeah. And
um
and you mentioned too, because with the addition of a third guitarist and having like a new rhythm section and everything, this isn't just like, both conceptually and sonically, this isn't just a follow-up to Becoming a Demon. This is like a new start for Silver Talon. There was almost kind of like a lot of new revelations within the band, right?
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's just so much more to work with, I think. Obviously everybody was in the band before, great musicians and all of that kind of stuff, really dedicated and all of that. But I think that there was maybe just an additional kind of level of effort sort of put into this one, I think, because, we hadn't all necessarily played before. I mean, we have the three guys who were on Becoming a Demon, and then the three new guys. And the three newer guys, I feel like they're really kind of trying to prove themselves and sort of put something out there that's going to be um, not only seen by the rest of the band as something that's good, but also kind of getting out in front of people and the audience and our fans that are already sort of well established at this point, and sort of to make them uh, kind of accept them, I guess, in a way. I mean, there's always that kind of weird sort of thing when you're joining a band that's kind of a little bit established, where sometimes some fans can be like, I like the other guy better. Um, so I think that there's a lot of effort on their part to try to sort of bring these people on board and to, not let them feel let down, I guess, by their performance. So everybody's just kind of firing on all cylinders, and it's just total balls to the wall performance wise. So yeah, it definitely is like a reincarnation slash taking it up to 11, I guess.
Yeah, and being that all of you have played with different bands, like Bryce, I mean, you played with a Spellcaster as well as a Lucifer's Child, and I know that Spellcaster kind of has a bit of like a onto others sort of connection there as well. And but Devon, correct me if I'm wrong, but you also played with Saboteur, right?
Yeah, Saboteur. I was
Saboteur.
with them for about 7 years.
Yeah.
Quite a while. That was pretty much the only band I was playing with. I played with Sebastian and two other bands actually for a little bit. Kind of fizzled out, but it was cool.
Is Sebastian just like Mike
yeah.
Patton on the guitar? He's just in like every band.
Yes.
An A.
Well, what I wanted to ask.
And,
oh yeah, you were saying.
Well, what were you gonna ask?
Oh no, I was just gonna ask if like all of the projects that you've all been involved with before, whether currently or formerly, like maybe influence the sound of Silver Talon in a way, like just having all these different experiences help maybe uh bring something new to the table or like enhance your sound in a way, or was kind of like the point of Silver Talon to kind of like distance yourself from other bands and maybe step into uncharted territory you never done before?
Um, I would say that like just having been around Sebastian's many bands in the past, like I already have a pretty good feel for his style and everything. And like originally I was having to play his parts with my own liberties, of course. But yeah, I kind of wanted to just kick my own playing up to 11, essentially. You know, I'm just trying to keep up with a bunch of musicians I really respect, and so it's kind of just kicking my own ass as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I think compositional wise and just being able to add the different layers and components that actually end up making the full song, definitely pulling on the sort of back catalog of experiences of various people. I mean, even like Devon, as a prime example of that. I mean, he sang and played guitar in Saboteur, so we already have a guy who has that kind of feather in his cap, so to speak, the singing and playing, and that proved to be pretty game changing for us, at least when we were in the studio and we were like, oh shit, we can have Devon lay down a bunch of backup vocals, and maybe Wyatt doesn't have to necessarily work as hard to try to overdub and to make himself sound kind of different in that overdub. We could just utilize Devon and have him do that, and that worked out incredibly. I don't think nobody else in the band that we've played with has necessarily had that kind of experience of being the guitar wielding frontman before. So not necessarily the same job for Devon, but we can make use of that, and that's something that if he had not done that and had not had that experience, we obviously wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, another thing is that this is technically the debut full-length album. Even though I thought Becoming a Demon was a great first taste, it definitely left me wanting to hear more from Silver Talon, and it made me look forward to what was going to come next. And I know I'm asking this way far in advance, being that we pretty much have, like, a month and a half till, Decadence and Decay comes out. But do you think that, having this self-discovery and, bringing in this lineup, do you think that maybe you have that this is the sound that you want to continue to explore, like this is the direction you're going to continue moving into, or do you maybe like for the future Silver Talon want to be a little bit more experimental and kind of continue to explore a little bit more?
I mean, I think as a band, you can't reinvent yourself too much, kind of off the top of the once you're out there, it's almost like you kind of have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Otherwise, you just kind of start alienating people. But that being said, I definitely think that there's room for slight adjustments and things like that to the overall sound as for what we're doing. But I mean, really, the overall philosophy of kind of how we approach putting songs together and writing music. I mean, it's going to be the same sort of thing where it's like, let's just make a song that we want to have a catchy chorus, we want to have some pretty insane over the top instrumentals, and a lot of room for all of the members to kind of do their own thing and to add their own sort of flavor and show off a little bit and all that kind of thing. So it'll always be sort of the same kind of approach, I guess, but that might look slightly different in the future. But I don't imagine us I don't know, it's not going to be something completely out of left field. We're not going to be playing like acid jazz or something.
Yeah, you'll be doing country in no time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably not, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, every band that says this has just never been on a label that they really want to get off on. You know what I mean? Like, so you get signed to a major label that treats you horribly, and then you'll be making a song that's really, really bad and completely out of territory.
Jeez.
So,
Jesus.
never say never.
I hope not. That's our yeah. That's a whole can of worms.
But and also being that because when it comes to guitar playing, what I love about the guitar is that there's so many different ways to approach it, just even with the genre of heavy metal in itself, like neglecting every other periodic table of subgenre element out there. But like, you could do guitar soloing, you could do intense riffing, there's chord progression, there's power chords, there's all this. Do all three guitar players have kind of like a specialty? Like, is one more the solo guy, is one more the riff guy, is one more, and there's always one member in the band who's the theory nerd?
I'm probably the most theory nerd of everybody. Yeah, coming up with some of those like stupid transitions in between various different keys that takes a little bit of almost like mathematics sort of planning, I guess, if you will. But geez, I don't know. I feel like we kind of share everything sort of equally. The cool thing about Silver Talon as a whole is I don't feel like anybody is. We're all just sort of here to serve the song, and I feel like everybody kind of understands that that the song is the number one thing that we're trying to elevate above all else. So nobody's trying to put anything in that's like super off the wall, like, oh, this is the thing I do, bro. I'm gonna add this into every song, no matter what. Everybody just kind of comes in
solos.
I mean, but that's
they belong there.
Exactly. They serve the song. So yeah, I don't think that we're kind of trying to show off, but not in a way that's like so out of left field, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you find it maybe easier to come up with new ideas or write material when maybe you're both where, isolation being the source of creativity for what it is? Like, do you find it maybe easier to come up with ideas when you're all maybe alone in your own element, there's something in between you and your instrument? Or do you find it easier to come up with ideas when you're the company of each other?
Man, it seems... I don't know how you like to do it, Devon, but I'm usually like, go off into some fucking like cave in the middle of nowhere, like no cell phone, no nothing, just
that is so Portland.
Yeah, right. The hermit guy. I'm in a cabin in the woods, just working on my like fucking alchemical recipes that'll end up being songs. So yeah, that's my sort of preferred method. Devon, it sort of seems like you kind of do some of the same, but you also really like to jam too.
Yeah, like, I don't know, when I like originally just needed to learn Sebastian's parts, and I talked to both Bryce and Sebastian, and I was like, hey, so you want me to note for note this, or can I do my own thing with it? And they're like, yeah, go for it. So a lot of just playing the solos I didn't write, at least like live, I would kind of keep certain things intact and then improvise other parts. And then I also kind of just carried that onto like recording my solos and stuff at home. My writing as a whole, generally I get like a good chunk composed, and I like to throw it down like just as complete as possible, and then throw it out there for spitballing ideas. But the album itself was musically written like before I was ever in the band. I heard a bunch of demos and stuff, but it was kind of an interesting thing going, like seeing what I could do that like fit in someone else's writing, because in Saboteur I wrote pretty much, I don't want to say everything, but most of the stuff we had. So it's kind of kind of just trying to carry over what I do have and then also expand upon that.
Yeah. And I have two more questions for you both. But like, what I think is so great about Decadence and Decay when I listen to this album, like, simply put, I don't know what to categorize it. Like, I see elements of thrash. I see elements of, some artists hate this term, so fuck it. But I'll just say it for lack of better words, power metal in a way. Like I see but I see like thrash fans loving this. I think Creator fans would love this. I think Judas Priest fans would love this. There's such like a classical and modern aspect behind it. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's thriving too much on nostalgia, but it's also looking towards the future without, but while paying homage to its influences. And do you all like, is it fair to say that like you all have different influences that play into the sound of Silver Talon, or like do you all kind of have to, in order to start writing the album, you all have to kind of be on the same page and kind of all focus at the same thing, have the same goal?
Well, I mean, we have to have the same goal insofar as, we have to make the song work as a cohesive sort of unit. But barring that, my approach is to pretty much just let everybody just do their own fucking thing. I'm in a band with all these guys because I respect and trust them as musicians. I mean, nobody's here just to, be like a Milli Vanilli character where it's like, oh, you look cool, so you're in the band. Everybody's here because they're all just really fucking killer at what they're doing. So that, for me, at least, when I'm coming up with kind of like the skeleton of something, usually I'm like, well, here's sort of an idea. Here's kind of what I have, a rough draft, an outline, so to speak. And then you guys just kind of, follow this sort of template, but just do your own thing. So with that, I mean, you get all kinds of different influences coming into the table where you'll have, say, like, like our singer Wyatt obviously is huge, kind of more traditional metal kind of influences with his vocals and things like that. So he'll be pulling all that kind of stuff to the table. And then you'll have, our drummer Michael is super into like black and death metal and all of that kind of stuff. And so he'll start throwing blast beats in places and things like that. Walter, bass player, super into just really kind of technical, like almost like jazzy kind of shit. He'll throw that stuff in there. So as long as it all kind of comes together and works, all of those different ingredients from what has it been, like 40 fucking years of heavy metal at this point, just taking little bits of all that kind of shit and just throwing it all in there.
Beethoven was the first metal musician, all right? He was metal before electricity. All right.
There you go. So yeah, we have like what? Fuck, when was Beethoven? That was like 1800s, so we're like over 200 years here, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm sure with a lot of those, I mean, I don't know though, because going back to the days of like, our tribal instincts, I mean, and then we hear an album like Roots by Sepultura, maybe that was foreseeing it. So I say metal's existed since 25,000 BC, I think was the first recorded year for human history. So
okay, yeah, I can't argue against that. So
yeah,
I'm with it.
Yeah, and every time there's a musician who claims to be, I invented heavy metal, there's always a musician who comes before it and just says that's cute, and then somebody tells them that that's cute, and somebody tells them that that's cute. And going back, and going back to your sound and from talking with your songwriting process, I've been trying to pitch this genre, and I think you would be the perfect band to call it. I just call it all organic metal. That's your genre, all organic section in the record store.
Yeah, there we go. It's that fits in with the Portland vibe too. Got a lot of every store has an organic section. Why not a record store?
Yeah, fair enough, right? And that led me to the final question, speaking of Portland, because I just interviewed Bewitcher recently as well, and they're a great band.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, they're a great band coming out of there. I interviewed on two others before. I've interviewed Bellwitch, I interviewed Yob, I've interviewed Toxic Holocaust. It almost
sweet.
Now, but what's interesting though is that when you take like a region of the United States, right, it always seems to be like known for one genre. Like Seattle's known for grunge, Massachusetts is known for metalcore, Tampa's death metal, LA is glam, you name it. But it almost seems like that Portland. I mean, I would say it was the Doom capital before, so many Doom bands were coming out of Denver. But like, it just seems like there's not like a way to pigeonhole a specific genre. It seems like is there's just great talent coming from Portland, right? Of all types of music.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I guess I don't know that I've ever thought about that, but yeah, I sort of got sort of stuck on the whole Doom thing probably like 2012, 2013 or something like that. It was just all fucking,
27 and a half minute long songs.
Yeah. Bearded guys with like 15 orange amps on a stage just playing one chord and
Play the next note.
Yeah. Everybody's just fucking stoned out of their minds like, yeah, shit. I mean, I think that probably the one thing that's kind of connecting everything in Portland is there's maybe sort of like an old school kind of vibe that's coming out of stuff, where it's all a little more, I don't know. In some ways, there's like a little bit of like that kind of throwback sort of vibe. I mean, even with like Bewitcher and Unto Others and Us, there's an element of that kind of harkening back to like the 80s or something like that.
Yeah, I've always said that.
But then I think
I've always said that Unto Others is the Smiths if they never broke up.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, maybe just a little heavier with some metal kind of stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's also this sort of like, I think, artistic bent where we're all just like disagreeable enough where we kind of just are like, fuck it, if this guy's doing it this way, I'm gonna do it this way and whatever. So there's that little bit of like friendly competition, I guess, with everybody to kind of try to add your own sort of like spice into all this kind of stuff to make it your own sort of unique thing.
Yeah, it also helps with the friendly competition when every band member is in like 30 bands at the same time.
It's very incestuous. It sort of reminds me of like the Stockholm like death metal scene where you had like 40 bands or whatever, but it was all like the same, two guys in every single one of them. So
it's hilarious.
It's like, Nick Anderson's in like 40 different bands. So
yeah,
there we go.
But if like a metalhead were to come to Portland one day, like, because this is unfortunately the big misconception, and Sweden is guilty of the same thing too, which is debatably the metal capital of the world. But like, people think, oh, there's a happening metal scene there, so as soon as they step out of the airport, it's gonna be like Ozfest everywhere they go. But like, I'd imagine like it's got to be fairly easy to like, if you move to Portland, and you want to start a metal band, like that looks like it's a place to go, right? If like a musician wants to get out of their hometown in the middle of nowhere, it seems like Portland is a place to travel out to, right?
Yes and no. I mean, given the fact that it's not like there's like an infinite amount of people that are doing this stuff. I think it's kind of like a dedicated core, right, that are in most of these bands. So if you make the right pitch, then yeah, you can find some very talented people to kind of pull into the fold.
Yeah. All organic metal.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I would say probably go to some shows and meet some people and kind of start chatting to people, and then work on that elevator pitch for the band, because it doesn't seem like there's as many people kind of getting into it these days as there used to be. Like, I can't think of any like younger kid bands. I don't know. It could just be because the pandemic is sort of put a clamp down on anything live, but
yeah. And I mean, I remember and this was back in 2017, so I don't know if it changed at all, but Joel Grind from Toxic Holocaust said that there was once like maybe kind of like a venue crisis in a way, like there was a lot of venues that were shutting down.
Oh man, it's even worse now, unfortunately. Like,
Yeah,
I don't even know what fucking once we actually started having shows again, I don't know where it's gonna be. Like there used to be all these kind of like different dive bars and stuff, and they're shutting down. I mean, the last stand that we had was this little hole in the wall where Silver Talon actually played our first show, called the Twilight Lounge. That's actually next to our rehearsal studios in Portland. And yeah, that place just kind of fell victim to the pandemic. Maybe they're coming back, maybe not.
Well,
So
we got to come back.
We actually talked about that. But,
oh yeah, you were saying?
We talked about Twilight Cafe. We practiced right next to there. We were I was talking to a couple of the guys. Our drummer was saying it may come back at a different location or something. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So we'll have one, maybe. Yeah. One or two. Yeah.
Well, I just think what's going to happen is that at the end of this, people are going to be so craving. From what I was talking to, so I have a lot of friends in the business world, and I'm talking in the whole DIY thing, but I also know people who work on like the whole corporate Wall Street world. So I've been talking to both aspects of it. They're saying that venues are going to be kind of like an investment now because there's such a demand for entertainment in general. I mean, people are so desperate for live music right now that they are willing to like one of my friends at Loudwire said he's so desperate for live music he would literally go into a Guitar Center and watch somebody rehearse. Like,
oh fuck.
Yeah. So that's how desperate.
Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, it's one of the
Play
five.
Freebird.
No, the 5 S's of Death at Guitar Center: Stairway to Heaven, Sweet Child O' Mine, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Smoke on the Waters, and Sweet Home Alabama. Those are the 5 S's of Death. Man. But
those are the only songs I know how to play. Jeez.
Yeah, well, you're screwed. Or get a job at
but Guitar Center for me.
But like they were telling me that like when shows happen again, every tour is gonna kind of happen like at the same time in a way. And like every city's gonna want that tour to stop by there. So like I think a lot of people are gonna invest in like pop-up spaces or like it seems like event spaces in general, whether it's for conventions or, you know, art exhibitions or whatever, are gonna be kind of like the places that people want to invest in. And I'm hearing that from people, like I know people who are been in the DIY business and they're, you know, they're eager and, you know, everybody's getting impatient, but and then, you know, there's like I'm talking to like some corporate people be like, I want to invest in this thing you called a DIY. I want to know, like, so who knows? Who knows?
How do I get involved?
Yeah. So who knows?
That's amazing.
Yeah. So DIY bars, man, they might be what they're going to be the cultural hubs of the United States when this shit's over.
Man, let's hope so, because yeah, I think as people, we were sort of getting maybe a little bit complacent about the whole, you know, DIY gathering space where, you know, you'd have so much shit going on every weekend. Everybody's just like, I'm going to stay home this weekend. You know, I'll be there next weekend. It'll always be there. It's fine.
Yeah.
And also, now, since we got this, it's like, let's get back to it.
Yeah, and also the whole DIY thing, I think that word is being used a little too liberally. Like, just because you have a bunch of pallets on the floor and a water cooler, I don't count that as a DIY venue.
Wait. Does the toilet have a stall around it, or are you shitting where everybody can see you? That's the real differentiator.
Oh, if you ain't getting hepatitis out of that bathroom, it ain't a DIY venue, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. I don't want to drift anymore. But is there just anything else that you would like to promote with Silver Talon with the release of this? Like maybe a live stream performance to hold people over? Can you maybe bring Silver Talon to New York? We would love to have you here.
Oh, man. Yeah. When we're able to, we will definitely come to New York, because New York's fucking awesome. And we didn't get to play in New York City, at least in 2018, which was a bummer. So, yeah, definitely hoping to rectify that in the future as soon as possible. But yeah, man, Decadence and Decay is out May, the other M month, May 28th on M3 Audio. So hope everybody checks it out, and, you know, thank you for the interview.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you both. Everybody, we are here with Silver Talon. Be sure to check out Decadence and Decay coming out this May. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.